known as the humble Hollywood studio chief, Tony Vinciquerra, the celebrated chairman, CEO of Sony Pictures Entertainment, recipient of Variety's prestigious Vanguard Award for his immense contributions to Hollywood.
Tony, this way, sir.
And for masterfully, they say, turning media companies around. He certainly did that at Fox, and when he took over at Sony on the iconic lot, he did it again, leading the studio through its most tumultuous times. A hack by North Korea, a studio in need of restructuring, then a once-in-a-century pandemic and 2 disruptive industry strikes. A visionary Vinciquerra led Sony through it all with blockbuster hits, stealth investments in anime, but his boldest move by far, not going into streaming as did all his competitors, choosing instead to become their major content supplier. Bold moves that have paid off, just as Vinciquerra is ready to step down, once more leaving a company in better care than he found it. Looking back at a legacy of leadership and hope for the future of Hollywood, Tony Vinciquerra, he is today's LA Story. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of LA Stories. I'm Giselle Fernandez, and we're here on the Sony lot in Culver City with Sony Pictures Entertainment Chairman and CEO Tony Vinciquerra. Looking back and forward on a magnificent career. It's great to see you.
Nice to see you again, Giselle.
You're the recipient of the Vanguard Award from Variety for your contributions to global television and film. What an incredible tenure you've had. When you got that award, how did it make you feel?
It was a little bit emotional. Where I get my satisfaction is from seeing people I work with do better at what they do.
Oh, so much humility, but it really is commemorative of an incredible contribution to this industry during some very challenging times.
Well, it recognized that I'm at the end of my career. And they give you these awards when you're leaving, so it was great. It was actually a lot of fun in Cannes. And I brought my daughter, my 19-year-old daughter, with me to watch, and she was more interested in what the food was afterwards, but she enjoyed it as well.
You're described like this by your peers, a low-key executive with unflappable style and a lack of pretension in an industry known for its big, flashy egos. How'd you manage that?
You know, it's funny, early on I decided not to manage with ego, but to manage with common sense and logic. And if you do that, you cannot be too anxious to get your picture on the front page of Variety, as you know, I unfortunately did at the Vanguard Award. You can focus on your business and get things done.
7.5 years here at the helm, and my goodness, you came in here, you turned this place around.
Well, when I got here in 2017, the company was still vibrating from the hack of 2014.
You were hacked by North Korea, and a lot of executive emails were released that were embarrassing.
Yes. And not only executive emails, but medical information on kids and families and all kinds of really sensitive things.
It was more than just the North Korean hacks. It was also a movie slate that was tanking. The business was not doing well. How daunting was it, some of those challenges?
It was a challenge, but fixable. The bones were here. One of the things that was so attractive to me to come to Sony was they have PlayStation, Sony Music, one of the 3 largest music providers in the world, and the technology of Sony itself. There's no other company in the world that has that combination plus pictures. So trying to find a way to put that all together was really what I found interesting. The opportunities were here. There were some things that we needed to change pretty quickly, one of which was getting out of the cable network business. The other thing we didn't do was get into the general entertainment streaming business.
When all of your competitors were diving in.
Which is exactly why we didn't do it, because they all did. And it occurred to me that those people, those companies would all need lots of programming to attract subscribers to their services. We knew everyone was going to be wanting more product, and we're the only ones out there selling it. We had really, really positive combined deal with Netflix and Disney.
How revolutionary was that strategy at the time?
It was really Wall Street that was driving it. They were giving tremendous value to subscribers, and it was pretty clear to me that Netflix, Amazon, Disney, Apple would survive, but the rest would have some difficult times. So we decided to go into a very targeted genre-based streaming service, which we don't really talk about very much because we don't want people to know how successful it is.
You're talking about Crunchyroll and Funimation.
Funimation, yeah. Again, common sense. We had Aniplex, which produces anime, Japanese anime. So we had a leg up in that business as it was. We bought the company Funimation, then we brought Crunchyroll, merged them together, And now we have over 15 million subscribers and a very profitable business.
That's one of the largest kind of revenue businesses you have right now, right?
It will be, in a couple of years, it will be our largest business, yeah.
And we just saw Comcast selling off its
Right.
cable property.
Or spinning off, yeah.
Spinning
Yeah,
off to
yeah,
its own independent
yeah.
company.
Comcast NBC Universal will spin off the bulk of its cable networks.
What do you make of where the business is going right now and the disruption you've had to kind of navigate under your watch?
Next 18 months to 24 months will be chaos as our colleagues in the business go through the process of figuring out what to do with the cable networks. They are sliding in a negative way, and that's not going to change. So they have to figure out what to do with that. Streaming services, they will become profitable. Netflix is very profitable, ours is very profitable, and others are starting to become profitable. The one thing we know is the demand for entertainment is not going away. And at the end of this readjustment of assets, I think it's going to be a great business.
How difficult is it to mobilize an industry, a studio, to meet the times?
They're adjusting to a new business reality, but it's different. It's very different than it was. Domestic box office is not what's driving the theatrical business anymore. It's the rest of the world, probably 60% now, and probably 40% from the US. So we have to focus on not only the US, but we have to focus on the rest of the world even more importantly.
Some of the creatives in this town say it's harder than ever to get anything made or greenlit.
Yes, it is. There's fewer films being made, fewer TV shows. On the film side, it's risky business, but the rewards are still there if you do well.
Talk to me about your biggest successes that you're most proud of.
Spider-Man are the most successful films, obviously. We're very proud of that. The way we partnered with Disney on the last 3 Spider-Man films was really terrific. We had a great success with Venom, and we have Craven coming up in December.
I read your leadership style is micromanager.
Well, you have to be sometimes. There's an axiom, trust but verify. If you don't know the people you're working with, you need to find out how much you can trust them and how much you can expect from them. And if you ask someone to do something, you need to find out if they actually did it. So if that's micromanaging, you have to do that.
So you're hands-on, but I did read that you took your gaming side and your content creators, you said, get together, gave them a whiteboard,
Right.
and said, don't worry about who's going to pay for anything.
Right.
Just create.
We took people from PlayStation and people from Sony Pictures together, said, figure out what IP you want to make happen. And they came up with about 15 or more projects. First one being Uncharted, which did $400 million in box office. And there's been 10 or 12 projects since, both in television and film, that have worked really well for us.
You know, it's interesting, when you were tapped, there was some scrutiny over you
For a
coming in.
little
They said,
time,
he
yeah.
never ran a studio. How did you deal with that scrutiny?
It didn't really impact me at all, really. It's just a business, you have to learn it. When I hired at Fox, I was running a TV station group. I didn't know how to run a broadcast network either. And then he asked me to take over all the cable businesses. And I'd never done that either, but it's not brain surgery. These businesses are not that difficult to understand.
You're stepping down after 7.5 years, what many have said just has been a glory tenure for you. You have a succession plan in place. Most studio chiefs in this town get fired. They don't step down voluntarily.
Well, most of them do dumb things and cause themselves to be fired. My original intention was to only do this for a few years, but the world didn't cooperate with me. And we had COVID, and then we had the strikes. In the meantime, I brought in Ravi Ahuja, who I hired at Fox, and thought he was a good person to try to develop into the role, and here we are.
So you're ready.
I am ready, absolutely ready, yeah. I think the company is, of the studios, the most stable in the business right now, and I'm very happy about that. But what I'm really proud of, and this is where I get my psychic satisfaction out of this business, is helping develop people into their careers. And that's always been what I've liked the most. We have a great team here, great diversity of gender and nationality. Very proud of the way the company looks right now. It really represents America.
Not only in its diversity, but it really stands out as a beacon of success in a really disruptive media landscape.
We're stable and we're doing okay, but it's not great business right now. The core businesses of film and television production are still being affected by the strikes. The strikes had a much, much deeper impact on our business than people realize, and it's still recovering.
In fact, you have a lot to say about that, and we're going to get into that when LA Stories comes right back. Welcome back to LA Stories, everyone. We are here with Chairman and CEO of Sony Pictures Entertainment, Tony Vinciquerra. The business has been in such a huge, disruptive moment. And you, as you said, not only in 7.5 years had to deal with the hack and then the restructuring, but you did have the pandemic and these 2 strikes.
Yep.
The reverberations of which are still being felt. It's not like, oh, the strikes are over and everything's back to normal.
Right.
It's not.
The deals that we did with the unions, those deals have raised the cost of production pretty dramatically. And there are parts of the world where it's not as expensive to produce, which is what we tried to tell the unions as we went through these things.
But they were very concerned about corporate greed. They were very concerned about where the business was going with technology, AI.
Right.
And they really held to their demands and got them.
Yes.
You say that is going to send more productions, TV and film abroad and not keep them here at home.
Well, it's already happening, and that's a big issue. California is very, very expensive to do business and production. There are just so many regulations. The cost of doing business here is huge. California still doesn't pay incentives on above the line. Atlanta does, and other places do, other countries do.
One of the big sensitive issues, as you well know, is AI. You have made very clear that AI will not write scripts, it will not replace the actor or the writer, yet the fear is so great.
You can't get in the way of technology, because if you do, you're going to get run over. You have to find ways to work with the technology and make sure that you find ways, and if you do that, you're going to be very successful as AI becomes more prevalent in the business. And it will, we hope, it will improve the efficiency of production. The biggest problem we have in production right now is it's just too expensive, and we have to find ways to reel that in.
You were at the table during those strikes, so you were not just a passive observer. How challenging was it for you personally?
Trying to have a conversation about it was the difficult part, because all we read about was corporate greed. These companies are making billions of dollars, and they weren't. If you added up the losses of the streaming services the previous year, it was $10 billion across all of our colleague companies. So there was not a lot of corporate greed. The pay to some of the people in our business was exorbitant, and that was a flashpoint, and one that you couldn't really defend. It was not pleasant to be in the midst of all the controversy that was happening and having people marching in front of your gates every day. So it was a stressful time, and we knew we had to get back to business, because we knew that it would not come back right away. It would take some time, and here we are still feeling some effects. It's coming to an end now, and you're starting to see, big films come back out and television shows being bought and produced, and it's starting to get back to normal.
Were you always a movie buff or just the business side?
When I was a kid, I would love to have a sick day every once in a while so I could stay home and watch the old TV shows, the black and white TV shows on television. So really enjoyed television and film.
You were raised in Albany, New York, I read, the only son among 4 kids, right?
3 sisters.
Raised in a 2-bedroom apartment, slept in a fold-out couch.
In the living room, yeah.
Did a lot of odd jobs, bussing tables.
Yeah.
Including picking up the hair clippings from your grandfather's barbershop.
Yeah, he was a barber for 57 years on Madison Avenue in Albany, New York, yeah.
How did that upbringing, where you had to earn your keep, influence you today?
You have to do the work, and if you do the work, good things happen.
And coming from humble beginnings and then to, all the opulence of Hollywood, it seems you never kind of bought into the flash.
I'm not comfortable with the opulence and the flash. I'm focused on the business and the creative part of the business, which is really what drives our business, is making sure that you have people who are focused on what they need to do. And the way you get people to focus on what they do is give them parameters to work within. If I just said to you, go create a program, you'd be like, whoa, how do I do that? But if I said to you, create a program, a comedy that involves workplace, that involves this and that and a few other things, and I know that's your strength, you'll come back with something pretty interesting. And some financial discipline around that, so that we make sure that it's financially stable enough to be repeated, hopefully for many seasons, or a film that could be going to sequel. That's really the strategy. It's not very complicated. It's pretty simple.
Your family, your mom and dad, how did they most influence you?
My mother was very, very smart, and she was a roller skating dancer in Atlantic City at one point. My father, he was excellent at everything he ever did. I hopefully got a lot of motivation from him. He played professional baseball in a minor league when he was 17 and then went to World War II, came back and made himself from having not had a high school degree into an engineer and worked on nuclear power plants for submarines. He was just great at whatever he did, and he died very young when he was 50.
You lost him young.
Yeah, and I was 19, 20, yeah.
He did not get a chance to see your immense success.
No.
You went on to university, got your job selling ads for a radio station. Is that where it all began?
When I was a junior in college, I took the job and finished school at night, and that's where it started.
You went on to go into senior management at CBS, worked for
Yep.
Hearst and
Yep.
Argyle.
Yep.
And then Peter Chernin,
Yep.
who was the head of Fox and News Corp for Murdoch, tapped you to come in and just create an empire.
He
And
did.
you did. How big a mentor was he to you?
Huge mentor. What I learned from Peter primarily is that you have to use your right brain and your left brain. You have to be a business person and a creative at the same time. And it's very difficult to do. And I learned a lot from him and how to do that. And he's still much better at it than I am.
I heard that when Peter first wanted to tap you for Fox, you're like, no, I don't want to do it. You actually turned him down?
No, what I turned him down was when he asked me to take on the cable and sports businesses. That's what I didn't want to do. I was still learning the broadcast network business. So I said no the first time, and then he said, no, you really have to do it. And you don't say no to Peter too many times.
But not knowing it certainly didn't stop you from being a massive success.
Well, it was not that difficult. It really and truly was.
You keep saying that.
Well, they were doing things that were more ego-driven than business-driven or logic or common sense-driven. So adjusting that caused it to be profitable. It was not that difficult. The Big Ten Network, I'm proud of launching it. It's a very successful business. You know, Fox, the broadcast network, was a real team effort. American Idol was a big part of that. And, you know, Ryan Seacrest, who is the host of American Idol now.
He credits you for his career.
Yeah, well, he works here now, and he's hosting Wheel of Fortune. He's, you know, what goes around comes around. And ironically, we now own American Idol. We bought the company that owned American Idol, so it's a big circle.
The top brass leadership in Tokyo, Sony, credits you with not just saving the company, but really building it into a robust presence in Tinseltown.
Mm-hmm.
What have you most learned from your Japanese cohorts?
Patience, because Japanese culture is very long-term. It's taught me to be more patient and to plan things more in the future, far ahead. And I think that's a really good thing, not a bad thing. You think about things more.
All right, that's a good place to take a break. When we come back, we'll have more with Tony Vinciquerra. Stay with us. Welcome back to LA Stories, everyone. We're here with Tony Vinciquerra, CEO and chairman of Sony Pictures Entertainment. We're sitting in the Scenic Arts building, built in the 1920s. The beautiful backdrops have used in so many films for the skyline of New York and so much more.
This is where, before computers generated the backgrounds, artists would come in and paint these scenes. And we stopped doing those canvases probably in the late 80s.
And you had to refurbish it. It's a national landmark now. What's your favorite historical lore from the lot?
Well, The Wizard of Oz was filmed here. And we have one yellow
You
brick still
do?
here. Yeah. And we have a couple of pools where a lot of the swimming movies were made, the synchronized swimming movies. We have the old commissary is now the Reed Hayworth Room, which is just really beautiful.
You also had a great association and friendship with the late Norman Lear.
I did.
The cafeteria is named
Learned
after
a lot
him.
from Norman Lear. Became very, very close friends. He was just a special person. The most patriotic American ever, very specific in his beliefs, but entertained all aspects of everyone's beliefs. Just a terrific man.
Are you sure you're ready to retire?
Absolutely. Well, not retiring. I will be around this business somewhere.
Tony, as you step down, I know you have a year left, as kind of chairman emeritus, if you will.
Yep.
But what is your message to creatives out there? What is your message to the industry?
LA is not the world. You know, you need to know what's going on in the world. You need to be curious. Curiosity is the most important thing you can have, and enthusiasm about what you do. There was a movie that was about the echo chamber that we all live within. If you are left of center, you're only going to be delivered information about what you want to hear. And if you're right of center, you're only going to be delivered information about what's right of center. And if you go through life like that, you are going to be missing a lot of what's happening in the world. You need to get out of your bubble. If you don't do that, you will not be successful at what you do.
What are we going to do without that wisdom?
Well, maybe you can repeat that.
Thank you so much. Congratulations on a brilliant career,
Well, thank you,
and all the
Giselle.
lives you've touched and inspired, including mine. Thank you so very much. Wish you the very best over the next year at Sony and then beyond.
Absolutely. Thank you, Giselle.
Thank you, Tony. And thank you, everyone, for watching another edition of LA Stories. I'm Giselle Fernandez. We'll see you next time. Thank you for watching our YouTube channel. For more stories in your communities, click the subscribe button right here. You can also download our app or watch us on TV for the latest information, balanced coverage, weather updates every 10 minutes, and more. We'll see you then.